The laugh was not an accident. It did not slip out. It did not happen by mistake. It was placed carefully like a weapon. I was halfway through lifting my fork when I heard it. A loud laugh from the left side of the table. Too confident. Too sharp. It sliced straight through the quiet hum of dinner conversation and landed directly on my chest. For a second, my body forgot how to move. My hand froze. My breath caught. My stomach tightened like it had been punched from the inside. That was the moment I realized something important. This dinner was never about family.com. It was about reminding me where they thought I belonged. And tell us, a voice said. Dragging the moment out, enjoying it. How is that small business of yours doing? The word, small, was stretched, polished, and thrown at me like bait. I did not look up immediately. I already knew who said it. I had grown up hearing that tone. The tone people use when they are smiling, but already decided you are beneath them. The table went quiet for half a second. Then came the smiles. Then came the laughter. Not warm laughter. Not playful teasing. This was the laughter people share when they feel safe enough to be cruel. My name is Alina Cole. I am the youngest daughter in the Cole family. The one who never caused trouble. The one who stayed quiet. The one everyone assumed would never become much. The man who spoke was Darren Cole, my older cousin. Loud, confident, always sitting like he owned the room. He worked at his father's construction company and loved reminding people that his life was already decided for success. Beside him sat his mother, Linda Cole, my aunt. She had mastered the art of sounding kind while cutting deep. Her smile was polite. Her eyes were not. At the head of the table sat Richard Cole, my uncle. The family pillar. The man whose money paid for most of these dinners. When Richard spoke, people listened. When he judged you, people followed. Next to me sat my mother, Helen Cole. Her shoulders were always slightly tense at family gatherings. Years of learning that silence was safer than honesty had shaped her into someone who disappeared in plain sight. My father should have been there, but he died when I was 16. And when he did, my position in this family quietly shifted from important to optional. The table was filled with expensive dishes and polished silverware. The house smelled like wealth and tradition. Everyone wore confidence like perfume. Everyone except me. I wore a simple dress, clean, modest, nothing that announced success. No symbols that demanded respect. I already felt like I had walked into the wrong room. I swallowed and finally looked up. It's growing, I said calmly. My voice did not shake, but something inside me did. Linda tilted her head immediately, the way she always did when she was about to pretend she cared. Oh, sweetheart, she said gently, but is it a real business? A few people chuckled. Someone across the table smiled into their glass. I felt my face warm. Richard leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. When I was your age, he said casually, I already had 20 men working under me. He did not look at me when he said it. He did not need to. My mother's fingers brushed against mine under the table. A warning, a plea. Her way of saying, please do not fight this. I nodded slightly. Darren smiled wider. So what do you actually do all day? He asked. Sit at home on your laptop. More laughter followed. Louder this time. Someone said, at least she's trying. Another voice added, it's cute, honestly. Cute. That word hurt more than the rest. I stared at my plate. The food in front of me had gone cold, but no one noticed. No one cared. Then Darren leaned forward, lowering his voice just enough to make sure everyone leaned in too. By the way, he said, pretending to sound curious, did you still come in that old car of yours? For a split second, the room held its breath. Then the laughter exploded. This time it was not subtle. It was open, proud, confident. That was when something inside me broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Because what they did not know was simple. That old car was gone. And the truth was parked just outside, waiting. I did not run from the table. That mattered. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back with control. Even though my heart was racing. My legs felt light, like they might give up at any second, but I forced them to hold me. I need some air, I said. My voice sounded steady. That surprised me. No one tried to stop me. No one asked if I was okay. They were too busy enjoying the moment they thought they had won. As I walked away, I felt their eyes on my back. Some curious, some satisfied, some already forgetting about me. The front door closed softly behind me. Outside, the night air hit my face, cold and sharp. It felt honest. Cleaner than the room I had just left. I stood on the porch for a second, breathing in deeply, trying to slow my thoughts. I did not cry. I had already cried too many times alone for tears to come now. I stepped off the porch and began walking down the street. Each step pulled me further away from the house and closer to the truth I had kept hidden for years. The street was quiet. Streetlights lined the road, casting long shadows that moved as I passed. My heels clicked softly against the pavement, the sound steady, grounding me. This was not the first time my family made me feel small. I remembered birthdays where my achievements were ignored while Darren's smallest success became a celebration. I remembered holidays where my plans were questioned while his were praised. I remembered how my dreams were always described as risky, unrealistic, or temporary. After my father died, it got worse. People stopped asking how I was doing and started telling me what I should do. Get a stable job. Find security. Stop dreaming so much. Be practical. When I told them I wanted to build my own business, they smiled politely. Then they forgot about it. Except Darren. He remembered, only because he enjoyed reminding me how little he believed in me. I reached the corner of the street and stopped under a flickering streetlight. That was when I saw it. The car. It sat there quietly, like it did not need to announce itself. Matte black. Clean lines. Low to the ground. The kind of car that did not beg for attention but demanded it anyway. For a moment, I just stood there. My hand trembled slightly as I reached into my purse and took out the keys. 3 years of work led to this moment. 3 years of late nights. Self-doubt, failed launches, and quiet wins no one clapped for. 3 years of building something real. While being treated like I was playing pretend, I unlocked the car and slid inside. The door closed with a solid, confident sound. I rested my hands on the steering wheel and let out a long breath. Memories flooded back. The night I almost quit because a client canceled at the last minute. The month I survived on the cheapest food possible to keep my business alive. The first big contract I signed, alone. Sitting on my bed because I had no office yet. The moment I realized my income was finally stable. The day I paid off my debts quietly without telling anyone. I never told my family any of this. Not because I wanted to surprise them, but because they never asked. I started the engine. It purred softly, smooth, and controlled. No roar, no drama. Just confidence. I did not rush back. I drove slowly, letting the silence settle my thoughts. I was not going back to prove anything. I was going back because I refused to leave feeling ashamed. As I turned into the driveway, the headlights swept across the front of the house. I saw movement through the windows. Laughter died mid-sentence. Chairs shifted. Heads turned. I parked right in front of the house. When I stepped out, the night felt different, heavier, charged. I walked toward the door, my posture straight, my steps calm. Inside, the room was frozen. Forks paused midair. Conversation stopped. Even the background music felt too loud. Darren stood halfway up from his chair. What is that? He asked, his voice unsure for the first time. I did not answer. I walked to my seat and sat down slowly. No one spoke. The silence stretched. Finally, Darren laughed nervously. Is that yours? I met his eyes. Yes. One word. That was all it took. The air shifted. Richard leaned forward slightly, studying me like he was seeing me for the first time. What exactly do you do again? He asked. I looked at him calmly. I own a business. No apology. No explanation. No details. Linda frowned. But how can you afford something like that? She asked, her voice tight. I smiled, small but steady. By working quietly, I said. And focusing on results instead of opinions. No one laughed this time. My mother stared at me, shock and pride mixing in her eyes. She squeezed my hand under the table, harder than before. Darren sat back down slowly. His confidence had drained from his face. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closed it again. For the first time, they did not control the room. I did. And they did not know what to do with that. The dinner ended earlier than planned. No one said it directly, but I could feel the discomfort settling over the room like thick fog. Plates were left half-finished. Desserts stayed untouched. Suddenly, everyone remembered they had early mornings. Long drives, responsibilities waiting for them. Darren barely looked at me as he stood up. Linda avoided my eyes completely. Richard excused himself with a short nod, already lost in thought. Only my mother lingered. When we finally stepped outside, she stopped near the porch light and turned to me. Her eyes were wet, but she was smiling in a way I had not seen in years. I did not know, she whispered. I nodded. I know. The next 2 weeks passed quietly, but the air felt different. My phone rang more often. Family members who never checked on me suddenly wanted to know how I was doing. How business was. If I was busy. If I had time to talk. I answered politely, carefully. Then Richard called. His name lit up my screen on a Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing contracts. I hesitated before answering. Alina, he said, his tone measured, professional. I was thinking about you. I waited. You are clearly doing well, he continued. I might have an opportunity for you, a real position. At my company. There it was. The olive branch wrapped in control. I appreciate the offer, I said calmly, but I am not looking for a job. Silence filled the line. You are turning down stability, he said finally. I already have it, I replied. His breath sharpened. You think you are above us now? I chose my words carefully. No. I just finally stopped thinking I was beneath you. The call ended shortly after. I sat back in my chair, heart steady. That conversation was not about work, it was about power. And for the first time, I had refused to give mine away. A month later, the real shift happened. One of my biggest clients approached me with a proposal. They wanted deeper integration, a long-term partnership, expansion into areas I had been preparing for quietly. I reviewed everything carefully. That was when I noticed the name. They were one of Richard's largest clients. I did not reach out to him. I did not warn him. I did not need to. The deal was clean, legal, strategic. When the contract was signed, I closed my laptop and sat quietly for a long time. This was not revenge fueled by anger. This was growth meeting opportunity. Richard found out on a Monday morning. By Wednesday night, Darren called me. His voice was tight, angry, confused. You planned this, he accused. You did this to hurt us. I listened without interrupting. No, I said when he finally stopped. I did this to protect what I built. You embarrassed us, he snapped. I smiled softly. You embarrassed yourselves. He hung up. The next family gathering was very different. The same house, the same table, the same people, but the energy had shifted completely. No one mocked me. No one joked. They asked questions instead. Careful ones. Respectful ones. Richard listened when I spoke. Linda nodded instead of smiling sharply. Darren stayed quiet most of the night. Power does not announce itself. It settles. As the night went on, I realized something important. They were not angry anymore. They were afraid. Afraid of how wrong they had been. Afraid of how quietly I had grown. Afraid that they no longer controlled the narrative. And I did not need to say a word to confirm it. That night, as I drove home in silence, I thought about the girl I used to be. The one who sat quietly at family dinners, shrinking herself to survive. The one who believed respect had to be earned loudly. I wished I could tell her something. You do not need to prove yourself to people who benefit from underestimating you. You do not need their approval to succeed. And sometimes, the most satisfying revenge is living so well that they can never dismiss you again. I parked the car, turned off the engine, and sat there smiling. Not because I had won against them, but because I had finally won for myself. People who mock you are often afraid of what you might become. Silence, consistency, and self-belief can be more powerful than any argument. Success does not always shout. Sometimes it arrives quietly and changes everything. So let me ask you, have you ever been underestimated by your own family? And how did it change you? When they finally realized the truth,